What's up, family? I'm Real Mike Rob. Make sure you tuning in to the 3-point conversion radio. They got all of it, and they keep it funky. Let's get it.
All 11 starters come back, and obviously some key role players as well. Yeah, it's good to know, having the same system and everything, but just building that chemistry, and as the more reps we get, the more experience we have together. We're truly enjoying going through this process and working together.
How further down the line is the starting point compared to last year? Because you've had the year in the system, you know everyone on your side of the football. Just how farther in the progression, getting ready for the season, are you than maybe at this point a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, first I'd like to say, last year none of that matters, none of the success or not playing well matters. We have to have a fresh start, but we're much farther along because everybody's not learning it for the first time, and that's the key part. But you have to focus on reteaching yourselves the fundamentals and the basic details of these concepts, and that's where you don't want to take that for granted. You want to teach all the basics and the fundamentals first off, so you can just refresh your memory and hit the ground running.
Baker, how did it feel to have all your weapons out there yesterday? Jarvis, Odell, everybody again.
Felt great. I mean, everybody looks good, and yeah, it's just like I said, when you're able to have those same guys come back and you're speaking the same terms and the same terminology, it's just it makes it a lot more enjoyable. You know how to push those guys. You know that we can say, hey, based on this rep, remember when we did this in this game? Hey, let's change it up this time, or hey, do the same thing you did last time. So it's fun to see those guys working and competing together.
I don't know that you've ever had this kind of continuity maybe in your playing career when you talk about scheme, coaching staff, personnel. What is that going to do for you in terms of building off the way you finished last season?
I think it's going to make us even better at our bread and butter stuff. I think we have to have a true identity rolling into this year to where we can grow as the season goes on. You don't want to peak early. You want to be good, but you want to continue to get better each week. And I think that continuity is going to help us with that.
Question about your growth as a quarterback. Would you liken going into your fourth year as a Brown starter to college? I mean, you had two teams, but I think if I recall, you had 4 years. Was it like maybe that then was a quantum leap, and here the progress is more gradual, or are there some real similarities in growing in your 4 years as a college starter and your fourth year as a Brown starter?
Yeah, I think it's similar, but not exactly relatable. I think when it comes to the college stuff, you grow in, and I had the same system and the same coaches, so that was the growth was within that system. And here it's been chemistry with these guys and a lot of the same faces, but we haven't had the same system the whole time. So I think now I'm truly hoping to make a huge jump of taking care of the ball and being efficient.
I mean, just looking at different QBs and researching them where they were from third to fourth year. But one, like Drew Brees, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but in his third year, he had what you'd probably call a bad year before his career took off. But do you feel like you reached a good place in your third year and you're in a much better place now, or is it way too say you're in a much better place as camp is just beginning?
I can play a whole lot better than last year. I know that. I'm trying to improve each year. And when it comes to looking at other guys in third to fourth years, I don't compare myself to anybody. I try and be the best version of me, and I think that's what we try and stress in this building is it matters what goes on. If you're getting better, the team's getting better, and we're pushing each other, and do your job first and foremost.
Baker, Jarvis said yesterday that I think he got lighter in the offseason because he was able to train the way he wasn't the year before. Can you tell that when you're watching him run around?
Yeah, he looks extremely explosive, and I know he told you guys. I mean, he feels more comfortable. Obviously, a little bit healthier rolling into this year, and he's touched on that. But mentally, physically, he looks great, and you can tell just the pep in his step right now.
And he said last year was the hardest for him because he was coming off the hip and he had other stuff going on, the broken ribs. How impressive was it he played through that, and could you ever tell that he wasn't quite himself?
Early in the week, yeah, he had his old man Jarvis walk going on, but he's a tough guy that he wants to put the team first always. So he was laying on the line each week, and that's why we appreciate Jarvis so much around here.
Baker, what can you do as a leader of the team to keep the expectations from getting in guys' heads, from getting caught up in the outside noise? I know it's easy to say that you're going to block it out, and doing so can be more difficult.
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, way easier said than done, but especially when you have the TVs on, all the talk shows are on. But it comes down to, I touched on a little bit over here in an earlier question, doing your job first and foremost. If you're not doing your job, then you might be distracted. You might be trying to do too much. You might be listening, and good or bad stuff on the outside, you never want to listen to it. You never want to get too high, never want to get too low, and I think that's something that I've tried to emphasize in my daily routine, and so I try and stress that with these guys, and that's my job, is to be the leader for these guys and stress that.
When it comes to, we've talked about you in this offense multiple years now. Do you feel more comfortable taking ownership of it and being like a teacher out there? I mean, we see you talking to guys between reps, things like that. Do you feel more comfortable now that you know the offense better?
Absolutely. I think, like I said, now going into the second training camp in this system and knowing the ins and outs and the little nuances that are so important, of being able to overemphasize those. And just because I might think that somebody knows the little details, over-communicate, because I think that's the most important part right now is, like I said, yeah, it's continuity. Everybody's saying same system, same people, but you have to emphasize those little details over and over. But I'm definitely a lot more comfortable to do that this year.
The work that Odell did this offseason to get himself back, and as quickly as he did, everyone talked about how after he got hurt, the offense took off and things seemed to run smoother. He mentioned over the weekend how excited he is to get back on the field with you and really establish that natural chemistry. So what do you guys do during this camp to move that ahead and really find that natural rhythm between you two?
Well, first I'd say that normal people and normal athletes don't come back from an injury like that as quickly as he did. So I mean, it's hats off to him. He obviously worked his tail off to get to where he's at right now. And when it comes down to the chemistry stuff, it's every rep matters for us. But then just the terminology and speaking outside the building, not just about football, that goes such a long way when it comes to chemistry and that trust factor. And we've made huge strides, and I know he feels the same way.
Case has said that when he's played with big-time wide receivers before, it takes a little bit of time, and then when it finally comes together, it's even better than it would have been if it came easily right away because you guys had to work through it. Is that now you're in year 3 with Odell? I mean, what are some reasons why beyond your time together that this could finally take off and be the connection? I think everybody thought it was going to be when you guys traded him.
Yeah, I mean, I think year 1 we were just trying to get used to each other. Last year, didn't have a full season by any means because of the injury, and it's just this year I think we've had our backs up against the wall, the two of us together, and I think we can relate a lot on those types of things. But yeah, you're right. Having success is always sweeter when it's not just handed to you. It's not the easy road when you hit adversity and you have to battle through it. And I think that's just the way of life too.
What was your relationship like when it started last year with Stefanski coming in on the fly and the COVID mess and all that, as compared to now, your relationship with him now?
Yeah, I actually know what he looks like now instead of the mask. So it's just different. We weren't able to be in person for these meetings, and having in person the first full offensive meeting together, on the report date. That type of thing is something that we didn't realize, but we took it for granted, and I don't think we will now, being able to be all together and do that. So when it comes down to being with Kevin and being able to have those conversations, there's a lot more communication going on now than there was last year. Not that we were lacking any, but it's just a lot more accessible now.
Baker, when you go back and watch games from the second half of last season, or even think about it, I know you mentioned being more comfortable in the system after the bye week, but what else stands out about your performance? Say, hey, I liked what I did here, I can build off of this.
I think where I was going with the ball, taking care of it first and foremost, but just progression, listening to my feet, and trusting everybody on the field, not trying to predetermine where I'm throwing the ball based on coverage, just reacting and going through that, and just distributing the ball to our skill players, because we have a great group, and so my job is not to try and do too much or control the game. It's to get this ball out and into their hands.
Baker, you said during minicamp that one of the things you want the offense to work on was improved efficiency on 3rd and 4th downs. Mm-hmm. Is there anything outside of just pretending you're in those situations in practice that you can do to work on that? Yeah,
I think you have to have a lot of simulated experiences when it comes to like the 3rd down practices, 4th down, those periods where you emphasize it. But then also in these meetings of emphasizing the importance of mentality-wise, how you want to attack those down and distances. Situationally, what is a defense trying to do to stop you? Do you have any tendencies? Do they have tendencies? How do you play on those? And so I think it's just that football IQ and expanding that helps overall, and that's something that we're definitely going to emphasize this year, so we can, have early success.
Baker, I think maybe we take the offensive line for granted. I know that you don't. What does that chemistry mean? I know it's one thing to connect with your wide receivers over the last couple of years, but what does that connection mean to have those same guys in front of you?
Yeah, those are my guys, and obviously we had quite a bit of rotation as well. Some guys step up in big ways last year, and so having all those faces back, it's extremely important. Terminology-wise in the run game, we're only going to continue to improve just because those guys are speaking the same terms to each other. They've worked with each other. They know the steps and how they play off of certain blocks and double teams like that. And so it's just so important. And in pass protection, with JC up front, obviously he's so smart to be able to ID stuff and get us in the right calls. And if I see something else, just having that open line of communication and trust where we played with each other. There's nothing's going to offend each other, so we're going to have that open communication and talk. But yeah, they're outstanding, and Coach Callahan does a great job of getting these guys ready each year.
Baker, your thoughts on Oklahoma linking up with Texas to go to the SEC and lead the Big 12?
It's a tricky question, Jake. It's the hardest one of the day. It's different, I'll say that. I think it's going to help our university for sure. I think not that you get bored with success, but I think it's a new challenge and something else that's going to continue to improve. And I think the college game was already changing when it came down to the NIL stuff and whatnot, and expanding the playoffs. So I think it's the correct move. We'll see what happens in the next couple of years, but I think it's going to be great for the university overall.